Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tier, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today, I'm up to song number 2846, and that one is It's a Mistake by Australian group called Men at Work. Maybe you guys remember these guys. They were really, really popular for a couple of years. They got started. I'll tell you first about the band, but first let me say a little bit about this song. So it was released on their album entitled Cargo. This was their second album. Yeah, it came out right after the first one called Business as Usual. I'll get to that one later. Here's a picture of the band Men at Work early on. Like I said, I think they were a really good band. They were very entertaining, a little bit of a novelty band, I think. Um, they, like I said, they had two really big albums when they started out. The first big album came out in 1982, was called Business as Usual. There were actually two versions of this record. The one that came out, I think in the United States, was yellow, like this one, but the one that came out in Australia was white. Looked the same except it was white. And This had some really good songs on it. I remember when this album came out. I bought it shortly afterwards. The first big hit was called "Who Can It Be Now," which I heard was the first number one song in America about paranoia. It was a funny video and a funny song. I mean, this guy is basically terrified. Somebody's knocking on his door. Who the hell is it? Like the IRS, is it the cops, whoever. He didn't want to answer the door. And I know the feeling. And then the next big hit on this album was called Down Under. Both of the songs went to number one, by the way. So the first album went to number one and it generated two number one songs. Down Under was another very funny video. I remember they shot in Australia. That's where they were from. And it was just, they were playing. I think they were playing the didgeridoo, and they had a little pet koala with them, and they were wandering through the desert. It was very funny. Yeah. Um, there was also a song called "Be Good Johnny." I don't think that was a hit in America. It did go to number 8 in Australia. I like that song. I don't know why it wasn't hit in the USA. It might have not been released as a single in the USA, but I did like that one. And then in '83, they had the album I'm featuring today. Let me go back to that one, Cargo. This one had a couple more hits on it. This one went to number one Australia, number three. This album went to number three in America. It wasn't quite as popular as the first album, Business as Usual. But it had a couple big hits on it. Neither of them went to number one, at least in America they did. The first hit was called Overkill. That went to number three. And then the second hit from this album, which I'm featuring today, was It's a Mistake. That went to number six. Um, and I believe that was the last. They only had those four top 40 hits in USA. They all went top 10. They had a few other hits in Australia. They also had a song called Dr. Heckle and Mr. Jive. That was another one I kind of like, kind of a strange song. Actually, that did hit in America. That went to number 28, but it was top 10 in Australia, went to number six. And they also had a song called High Wire, which I'm not even familiar with, and that wasn't a big hit. I never owned this album, by the way. High Wire just barely hit in Australia, went to number 89. Wasn't a hit in the USA. And they had one more album after this one, or at least one big album. It was called Two Hearts, and this had another hit on it, or at least an Australian hit called Everything I Need. This came out in 1985. I guess this one wasn't a big album. So they had two really big albums, and they were, like I said, really popular for a couple of years. And I want to talk a little bit more about the song "It's a Mistake" and the video. I remember I watched videos for all of their hit songs, and I remember this one. And this is an anti-war song, and they show them, at war. I guess they show all these. Soldiers and military generals. There's a couple scenes where they show these guys in normal attire and then they show them in military attire ready to fight a war. I'm not sure exactly what war they were fighting, but it was basically about the Cold War, because the Cold War was going on at the time. and I guess pretty much everybody in the world was concerned about it, including men at work. And at the very end, I mean, I guess the video was a little bit of a play on a popular movie from 1964 called Doctor Strangelove. Maybe you guys saw that movie. Excellent movie, by the way. It was directed by Stanley Kubrick. It starred Peter Sellers in two different roles. I believe he was president. He was also Dr. Strangelove, the kind of insane scientist who invents the doomsday device. And in case you guys didn't see the movie, Dr. Strangelove is a black comedy about World War III. There were a lot of movies that came out about World War III before it, and most of them were serious. And there were even some serious ones afterwards. I didn't like most of them. I'm glad we never had World War III. It was a distinct possibility during the Cold War. I think it still is. So it's something to be worried about. But Doctor Strangelove was a very funny movie because it kind of made fun of the whole thing, if you think that's possible. But they did, and they did a really good job. They had a crazy general who was concerned. I guess he thought there was a Russian conspiracy to, infect the West infect our body fluids by fluoridating our water, which was ridiculous. But that became the whole basis of why he basically started World War III, enacted the doomsday device. And at the end of the video, it's a mistake. They kind of have the same thing. They show a general in front of the button, and he's trying to put out a cigarette, and he puts it out on the button by mistake and triggers World War III. And that's how the video ends. Not a very pleasant ending, but it was a good song and a good video, and not really funny unless you could call it a black comedy song. But I liked it, and I liked this band Men at Work a lot. Anyway, that's my profile on It's a Mistake by Men at Work. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys rock. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.